Have you tried TanStack Start yet? Let's give it a try together. I just recently built a project using TanStack, and I think it's a great alternative for Next.js. You could learn more about TanStack on their website, tanstack.com, and it has over 4 billion downloads. I think that's a bug, but that's okay. Or Tanner is being hilarious. But all joking aside, you probably use some of the libraries from TanStack like TanStack Query or React Query, which is pretty cool. We're going to use it in a framework mode, which is using their TanStack Start library. We're going to go ahead and click on Get Started to go to the Get Started docs. You can read more about the library, why you should use it. If you want SSR, streaming, server routes, and API routes right out of the box, this is the way to go. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's go ahead, click on Get Started. You're going to notice that we're able to start by using the npm create TanStack Start at latest CLI command. So in my terminal, I'm going to paste it in and click enter. This is going to ask us what would we like to name the project. I'm going to say TanStack demo and click enter. Would you like to use Tailwind CSS? Of course we do. Yes, let's use ESLint, because why not? And if we want to deploy, the recommended approach is either using Cloudflare, Netlify, or Nitro, which is agnostic. You could even deploy to Vercel using Nitro. I'm going to go with Netlify. This is one of the best ways I feel to deploy TanStack Start projects. And here you could see all the different add-ons that are available. Instead of choosing any one of these, we're just gonna not select any of the options and click enter. You could also see that they have a demo chat app, which again, we're gonna skip, not select it, just press enter. And this is gonna go ahead and install all the dependencies for our project. Once everything installed, let's cd into our TanStack Start demo project and open it in VS Code. We're going to start super simple. Most of our work is going to be done inside the source project. And if we take a look, we have our components folder, which has our React components. We have our data folder, which is going to be responsible for loading our data using server functions, and that's the example we're going to take a look at today. And we have our routes. There's some demo routes available here. I'm going to go ahead and delete them so we don't get confused. Our entry point to our project is this root.tsx file. You could take a look at it, but the most important part is going to go ahead and be the parent for our project and render any of our children routes that we have. And currently we only have one, which is this index.tsx file. I'm going to go ahead and delete this import just to clean our code. And I'm going to delete these hard-coded values. And I'm even going to go ahead and delete this section here. And we're just going to start brand new, start nice and fresh by just having a div with a message. We will show something here. Now this is complaining because we didn't start our project yet. So let's go ahead and run yarn dev to start our project. And our project is going to spin up on localhost 3000. And here we could see that we have our, we will show what? We will show something. Perfect. So we know that our app is working and we have our basic message that we will show something here. So what are we going to do today? We're going to take a look how to get our data using server function. And for that, we're going to use the Star Wars API just to keep things simple. So back in our project, we're going to go ahead and navigate to our data folder, this demo punk song server function example. In the handlers here, we're just going to remove this hard-coded data, and we're going to do something here in just a moment. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and rename, instead of get punk song, we're going to call it get planets, because we're going to be getting planets. Our planets are going to come from our Star Wars API. The base URL is the API for the Star Wars API endpoint, and our path is going to be planets. Doing it this way allows you to easily use the base URL and point to a different path. But for now, we're going to keep it simple. Then we're going to say const URL equals, it's going to be a new URL, and it's going to use the path. And the second parameter is our base URL. And inside our handler, we're just going to make a simple fetch request. We're going to say const response equals await fetch, and we're going to pass our URL, and we're going to say const data is going to await our response and make sure that we return JSON here. Nice. And just to make sure that everything works, we're going to say console.log data, and this data is going to be rendered in our terminal because this function runs on the server. And we're also going to go ahead and return our data. And let's rename it to something more appropriate. We're going to call it get planets. Nice. Now that we have our server function to fetch our data from our Star Wars API, let's go ahead and use it in our index.tsx file. Inside our create file route, we have this object that has our components. This also takes some additional parameters, and one of them is loader. And this is what we're going to use to get our data. It's going to be an async function, and we're going to use our server function we just created to get our data. So we're going to say const planets data equals await get planets, and we're going to import it from that data folder where we created that server function. Once we have our data, we're going to return our planets, which is going to be planets data.results. Don't forget a comma here. TypeScript's complaining because it is just very strict. So get planets should come after the create file route import. Nice. Now that we have that, we are able to access our data from this route inside our app function by saying const planets, and we're going to get it from our route using the use loader data function, which is cool. And now that we have that, we're just going to do a sanity check by saying json.string planets. And so in theory, this should get our planets, and we should see that in our, let's take a look. And here you go, we're refreshing our front end. You could see that we're getting all of our data, which is our array of objects of all of our planets. Nice. So let's make it a little bit prettier. Inside our components folder, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it planets. That based on the response that we have, we're going to go ahead and create an interface for the planet. Our response had name, rotation period, orbit period, diameter, and so far. Based on our response here, I'm just going to create a basic type for our planet. I'm not going to use all the attributes, just the ones that I want to display. And our component will have planet props, which is an array of our planets. When I use Tailwind, I tend to like to define styles in a separate object. Some people don't like this. I like this because it allows me to keep my JSX clean. And now let's go ahead and create our planet component. Just so you don't have to watch me type everything, I'm going to paste it in from the example that I had, but it's a basic component which takes our planet props, and all we're doing is we're mapping through our planets and we're displaying all the items. So now, instead of showing this JSON, let's go ahead and import our component, and that's from components folder. And instead of displaying this JSON data, we're just going to display our planets component. So now when we navigate to our and refresh, boom, notice that we have our planets coming from our Star Wars API. And what's awesome, this is being done server side. Now, the reason why I created this planets component, because in a later video, I'll show you how you could use TanStack query. And instead of getting our data server side, we could do it client side. And that could be useful when you're getting something that needs to constantly update or change or has to be dynamic. But in this video, I just wanted to show you a quick way to get started with TanStack Starter. So before we end, let's do a quick review. In TanStack, we're able to define our route will point to the component that we want to use, which is our app component. If I were to define a different route, let's say about, I'll just show you quickly. If I do new file about.tsx, you're going to notice that it's going to create that about route following that same example. And I like how TanStack automatically templates this for you. And so a route consists of using the create file route function, giving it the path for that route, and pointing it to the component that you want to use. And that's exactly what we have in our index file. And what we did here, we defined a loader that uses a server function to get our get planets. And that's exactly what we have in our data folder. In our get planets, we use create server function to create our server function that's using get method, and we're using basic fetch to get our data. We could also add all of our TypeScript here to get our typing from our server function to our front end, which I just skipped for now to make things easier. And just like you could do get, you could do post for submitting forms, delete to delete items. So full CRUD functionality can be accomplished via these server functions. Then we go ahead and use that server function. And to get the data, our route has a useLoader data method that allows us to get the data that we just got. So I wanted to give you this brief example of how to start with TanStack Start. But if you're looking for a much more substantial example, here's the current project that I'm working on. And this is a full project that has a full blog website that includes search, pagination, auth, including a headless CMS for our backend. You could check out this project. I'll make sure to link in it in the description below. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more TanStack Start content, subscribe or comment. Let me know in the comments. I'm definitely going to post more TanStack content for the next 2 weeks because I am currently building a project with TanStack. And once that's done, I will build a similar project with Next.js, and I will come back to my Astro tutorial. I know a lot of people are asking, but I've been really, really busy at work. And TanStack is what I'm currently using at work. So I figured I'll share what I'm learning here with you. But with that being said, thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.